Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Larry Lou, and this is T3 Podcast, Transformation Through Truth. This is the show where we come to heal, we come to get better, we come to be better today than we was yesterday. This is where we are going to, where we try to put our best selves in the best possible position to succeed in life. And I mainly focus on that emotion and personality and character. I think that's the most important part of who we are. So today I have something I want to discuss with you, right? And today the show is called, I titled it Beauty and the Beast. And we all kind of know that Disney story of Beauty and the Beast. But I want to point out some things to you all that you all might not have thought of before. So it's titled Beauty and the Beast, but the true topic or the true importance of this podcast will be on acceptance. Acceptance is a powerful virtue that can change your life. So to jump right in here, and again, and before I forget, if you be so kind to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like the content, be greatly appreciated. So before we talk about acceptance, let's talk about crisis just for a minute. I don't know if everyone knows exactly what a crisis is. I mean, we kind of always feel like we just know what certain things mean because we speak on them, we hear other people speak on them. But a crisis is something where one is just trying to manage painful situations. And in a crisis, you have skills that most of us use, this one in particularly, which is to escape, so to speak. Just get away from the situation, whether it's physically or mentally. So when we talk about a crisis and we talk about the skills that are used for crisis, a lot of us will withdraw. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what a lot of us don't understand in a crisis is that those skills are only supposed to be used for short-term situations. So if you continue to use short-term skills for a long-term fix, then that becomes a problem. And for instance, if we are continually to withdraw from a situation that we're calling a crisis, and we continue to do that, it turns into a passive aggressive behavior. And that's not good. So anyway, that's just to touch on crisis a little bit. It's a lot more that can be said to that, but I want to put that out there so when I start talking about acceptance, you'll be able to distinguish the two. So a crisis is about managing painful situations, and the skills used in a crisis is only supposed to be used for short term. Now, a lot of us, and I hear people say, and I'm pretty sure you do too, feel like their whole life is a crisis. Like it's not something that happens, every blue moon or now and then. They feel like their whole life is a crisis. And I get that. So again, the question becomes, well, so what do we do when we feel like our whole life is a crisis? Because now you need some other skills. So with that, if your whole life is a crisis, or that's what you feel, then now there becomes a time when you need to practice reality acceptance. What do I mean by that? So reality acceptance is a term that is used and that is practiced not to manage painful situations necessarily, but more so to reduce suffering. Because if you feel like your whole life is in a crisis, then this is not something that's just happening periodically. This is something that is happening on a constant basis. So, if that is the case, you need to practice not crisis skills, not skills that are needed for a crisis situation, but skills for acceptance. Accepting that this is possibly could be your life, not for a day or two or a week, but it can go on for maybe 6 months. It can go on for a year. It can go on for 3 years. For example, if we look at reality situations, a job, you may not like your boss. Your boss might not be going anywhere. You might be looking, but in the meantime, you're going to have to accept that this person is your boss and may have to take direction from this person. And so your job for yourself, not for the boss, is to reduce the suffering that you're feeling. So this is when reality acceptance comes into play and can be very beneficial. Because this is about reducing your suffering, not trying to make the other person or your quote unquote enemy feel better. It's about you. It's about taking care of you. It's about taking care of us. So when we talk about reality acceptance, we're talking about the long term, or it can be, we don't know when this suffering might end. And so we need to have some skills. We need to practice to get us through this trying time. Some other things that we could think of that people need to accept as reality. Your kids. You didn't plan, or you didn't want necessarily this kid who just keep wilding out, getting in trouble. You have to keep going up to the school and he just doesn't learn. This is something that you need to try to accept on some level, because although you don't want to keep having to go up to the school or punish the kid, give him consequences or whatever the case may be, especially when it seems like nothing is working, in order for you to find some type of peace, you need to come to the reality of accepting what the situation is. And maybe, the kid need more help than what he or she is getting at the moment. Maybe you need to spend more time, if possible. And unfortunately, if you're a single parent, and I know this from experience, I was raised by a single mother. I work with single mothers. It's very, very difficult. You got to try to put food on the table. You want to try to be there for your kids, but you got to pay these bills. And it can get very tiresome and depressing. And you kind of want to have a life of your own to try to escape all that. I understand. I get it. But the reality at the moment may be you can't have that social life that you crave. You trying to go out every Friday, every weekend. Maybe you need to try to just narrow it down to one weekend a month. Whatever it is that you need to do to try to reduce your suffering. So that's a possibility. Like those are that's a reality. Reality, of course, is relationships. That's a big one. My son's mother told me, now this is a reality check for your boy for sure. Listen to this. She told me one day on the phone, she said, well, I just don't know what to tell you. Sometimes I want to be married and sometimes I don't. Just flat out. And hung up the phone. Hung up the phone on me. I was hurt. Oh yeah, I felt that. Oh, that cut me deep. Because now, if she's saying that, you can imagine my wheels are spinning. Imagine your wife or your husband just telling you one day, well, I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes I want to be married and sometimes I don't. Just imagine that for a minute and how that would make you feel. But at the end of the day, I had to come to accept the reality that this is what she wanted. This is who she was. I had to accept that. She didn't care who I thought I was. She didn't care who I used to be. And she didn't care who I could possibly become. She didn't care about none of that. Now, not to try to make it seem like she wasn't possibly justified because of some things that I might have done, not necessarily proud of, but she wasn't trying to hear it. And sometimes that happens to us, right? Especially us fellas, we do things, we might be sorry, apologetic, but she like, no, I'm straight on you. And it hurts, right? That's a reality that we need to accept. So I had to accept that. So how do you do that? Talking about acceptance, right? I told you this was what the main topic was. So you have the reality of life and what life throws at us. Not gonna change, no matter what we do, no matter how many tears we cry. The reality is the reality. It is accepting things as they are and not try to change it. So how do we do that? Well, when you have acceptance, there are some steps that you can take to try to reduce your suffering. The first thing is you take the situation take my situation with my son's mother. I wanted to change the situation, and here's the first step. If you can change it, change it. You don't want to be in a situation that you are in. If you can change it, by all means, change it. Who wouldn't? Again, we don't run towards pain. We run away from pain. We want to feel better. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you can change it, change it. But if you can't, if this is something out of your control, as this was with me and her, she was determined to do what she was gonna do. There's nothing that I said that I actually said that changed her mind. She ended up getting her degree in nursing after I had paid all the bills, because I told her to go to school and said, don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about no bills. Just, go to school and, get better, because I'm thinking about us as a unit. She ended up graduating, I think the certificate in nursing or whatever it was. She came and I remember she bought a brand new car. Brand new car, I didn't even know. She making her money, bought a brand new car. She's like, I'm out. Oh yeah, she's like, I'm out. Use me. And I know it was getting me back. And again, we cool now. I used to hate her guts, but we cool now. Anyway, this was something I couldn't change. I had to accept the reality of what was going on. So I couldn't change it. So the next step would be, if I can't change the situation, I needed to change how I felt about it. Now, what I'm telling you now is something that I didn't know back then. So for me, even though I couldn't change it, I'm upset about it. I'm mad. I hate her guts. She this, she that. I'm holding grudges. Oh yeah, all that. So back then, in reality, I didn't accept it. Because true acceptance, you're not going to hold grudges. You're not going to be upset. You're not going to be angry every day. You're not going to throw things up in people's face every day. If you truly accept in reality for what it is, you're going to move on. Okay. So you have the first step is to change it if you can. The second is, if you can't change it, change how you feel about it. Because here's the caveat. And this is what happened to me, is because I wanted to change it and I couldn't change it, I made things worse. And I stayed miserable. So understand what I'm saying. When we talk about the reality of whatever it is that you got going on, that you cannot change. You may want to change it, but it's not in your power to change it. You've tried and it is not happening. So this now is your life. You may not have chose this life, but this is the life that you have until things can change. And so until that time, you need to reduce your suffering. Maybe you need to go back to school and get a certificate to, make yourself more marketable, more valuable to a company. Maybe you need to get out of this relationship and find a new one. But right now, maybe the finances ain't right. Whatever the case may be. You want to reduce your suffering in the meantime. That's all this is. Okay, you want to reduce your suffering in the meantime. So I chose to make things worse. If you can change it, change it. If you can't change how you feel about it, but if you don't change how you feel about it, you end up making matters worse and staying miserable. Or you're miserable, and so you end up making matters worse. Either way, it's not good for you. It's not good for us. So those are the skills that goes with acceptance. If you can remember those and apply those when you have a long-term problem, it might do you some good to have healthy skills to go by instead of unhealthy. I know everybody want to go have a drink. Everybody want to go smoke. Everybody want to go, and shopping could be a short-term solution. But when this is just your go-to all the time, now you might end up in debt. You just spending so much money that you can be ended up in debt, and then that becomes a problem. So sometimes we just need to accept things as they are so that we're not making it worse and to reduce our suffering. Now, as I said before, acceptance to me is a powerful virtue. It's almost like a spiritual law to me. And to prove to you how powerful this is, and I hope you can see this in a movie that is as old as I can remember, Beauty and the Beast. Everyone thinks that Beauty and the Beast is about a young lady who loves this beast so much that she ends up changing him by her love. But that's not the real message that I see. That's not the real message that I see. And because if we look at things from a factual basis, for a lot of us, we know that love does not change everybody. So I'm not saying that love can't inspire change. I believe love can inspire change. But acceptance is about accepting this beast for who he was without trying to change him in any kind of way. Not trying to change him in any kind of way. The average Joe, and even maybe to her at one point, if I'm not mistaken, she thought he was horrendous. But she ends up accepting this beast for who he was in his totality. Now, her acceptance, the power of acceptance. If you really think about it, her acceptance of him freed him to be who he actually was. Y'all, you see what I'm saying? Her acceptance freed him, the beast, to be who he really was. It freed him. That's the power of acceptance. It's to free us from ourselves so that we can become who we are supposed to be. And in her case, it just happened to be a prince. In her case, it happened to be a prince. In your case, you know, the person might be the next great architect, or next great lawyer, or the next great entrepreneur, the next great stock investor. I don't know. But the power of acceptance frees someone. It frees them so that they can be who they truly are, so that they can truly shine. That's what acceptance does, and that's what Beauty and the Beast on a deeper level, on a deeper meaning, is really about. A person who feels accepted will feel it's safe enough to come out of the shadows, and that's what happened. See, when we talk about our shadow selves, and you know, the shadow self is the unconscious self, and the definition of the unconscious is unknown. So there are a lot of things about us that we don't know. There are a lot of things that are taking place inside of us that we don't want to deal with, so we push them to the unconscious. But it leaves us in a conflict with ourselves. So by someone accepting us, it makes us feel safe enough. It makes us feel vulnerable to come out and show you who we really are. And show you who we really are, who we want to be. If someone truly is accepting you, you feel safe in order to do that. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful feeling. Because essentially what's happening is that truth is being revealed. Our truth is being revealed. You sitting there accepting me for who I am, not talking down to me and making me feel ashamed. My true self can shine through. And once the shadow self is released, now the best version of ourselves is created. So through acceptance, I become the best person I can be because I'm not afraid. Now I can integrate my normal self with my shadow self. And them two together have become a powerful entity now. I'm a powerful man now. I'm a prince now. Because this is what has been inside of me the whole time. I just needed to feel comfortable enough to let it out. I needed to feel safe enough to let it be born. So this is what acceptance, how powerful, this is how powerful acceptance is. The light and the dark, yin yang, masculine, feminine, and male and female, those dualities coming together. And if you think about male and female, and I say when they integrate, meaning if you get intimate with each other, man and a woman gets intimate with each other, something, not all the time, but something can happen. If you're intimate with each other, there's a chance that, if you're not on any, you're not using any protection, and you're just doing things just naturally, that you will have a kid, right? Someone can get pregnant. That's just natural. That goes along with that act of being intimate with each other. But in a virtuous sense, like in the spiritual sense, male and female coming together and what it represents. It represents the beginning of life and the birth of something new. So if we're just talking about ourselves and we are integrating with ourselves, we are giving birth to something new. We're representing, that represents the beginning of life. This is what acceptance is in its truest and its rawest form. If I just accept you, I'm not being upset about it. I'm not mad about it anymore. I'm not throwing it in your face. I'm not speaking to you. I let it go. I accept you for who you are. And we gonna roll. Ain't no telling what might come out of that. Ain't no telling who you might free up from themselves when you accept them. There's no telling on what can be born out of someone or out of you accepting someone, giving them the chance to reveal their true selves. It's numerous of the possibilities. It's whatever your heart desire, whatever is truly in you can come out. It feels safe. It feels comfortable. It doesn't feel threatened. So in my opinion, this is what Beauty and the Beast was really about. Because love never really changes or have changed someone. Or at least we know not all the time. That's a fact. You have loved people and given them everything you got and they still spit in your face. They still got their foot on your neck. And you've been doing all of this loving, so to speak, and nothing's changed. They are still the same. But acceptance, you know what? I'm not even gonna worry about you. I'm not even gonna worry about her. I ain't gonna worry about my boss. everything is fine. Now watch what happens. You're not fighting against the grain. Now watch what happens. The power behind that. And the only way you're going to see it is to do it. And the last thing I will say, one of the biggest struggles about acceptance is some problems, some issues are so dire that you have to renew your mind every day to accept this situation every single day. So acceptance isn't a one-time thing. Okay, I accept it. I'm done. Everything gonna be fine. Sometimes you got to get up every day and mentally prepare yourself to accept the reality of your life. It takes a little work. And again, this is because some issues are just a lot more severe than others. This is something that you may have to practice on a daily basis, maybe every hour. I know I did. When my son's mother told me that, every hour I wanted to go into a depression, I had to tell myself. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I was doing my best to try to get through that. I didn't have these skills at the time. I wish I did, but I was doing the best that I could. And one thing that I know I did was that every morning I just had to talk to myself and to motivate myself to get up and go to work and still try to be happy and have a life, outside of her, because I was in love. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I was in love, but it didn't go the way I thought. It didn't go the way I thought. But eventually, once I accepted it, it wasn't that big of an issue. Now I laugh about it. Learned a lot. And now I know how to move going forward when things that are out of my control happen and trying to make me suffer. I know now what it is to do to reduce that. Suffering is a choice. Pain isn't, but suffering is. The more you dwell on a situation, the more a situation that is going on, the more you ruminate on it, the worse your suffering is going to be. So this is the power of acceptance. So again, this is Larry Lou. T3, transformation through truth. Again, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe. And again, all we trying to do is be better today than we was yesterday. We just trying to heal. We're trying to heal from all of the pain and the hurt that we experienced when we had no control what was being put into us. Trying to get it, trying to deal with it the best way we can. And this is one way you can do that. Learn to accept your reality to reduce your suffering. Elevation is in order. Peace.